Thank you for listening in to the Scary, Strange, and Outright Odd Show. And please enjoy this story by Hackshuck from Reddit. Sophie was tormented by a recurring dream in which she was plummeting to earth from a great height. Night after night, she'd awake screaming in the dark of her small apartment. A friend mentioned that a former therapist lived upstairs. He saw patients for $20 a time, which Sophie could just about afford. So Sophie met her therapist, and as she sat shivering on his old sofa, they discussed her situation in detail. His instructions were unambiguous. Sophie would have to demonstrate her dedication to face her fear head-on, and in order for her nightmares to stop. So, she scrimped and saved to pay for a skydiving session, and by the time her parachute opened, her screams had subsided, and she drifted down with a huge smile, believing her dreams would then subside. Her therapist observed from the ground. He simply stood still with his hands in his pockets. His cool, calm expression never changed. But Sophie's bad dream was then quickly replaced by one about being stressed alone in the woods at night. So, her therapist recommended that Sophie take a walk through the forest after midnight, alone, with all the sounds of creatures and critters, whilst her therapist observed from the shadows. He simply stood still with his hands in his pockets. His cool, calm expression never changed. But Sophie's bad dream was then quickly replaced again, this time by one about her drowning in a choppy ocean, in clear sight of a lonely beach. So, her therapist recommended she swam out to sea, alone, for a short distance, whilst he observed from the shore, assuring Sophie that the water would stay shallow and calm in the quiet cove. But the waves were far larger than she'd realized, and the cold, sharp spray soon took her breath away. She screamed to her therapist for help, but he simply stood still with his hands in his pockets. His cool, calm expression never changed. As her head began to bob beneath the water, she heard his calm voice explaining the situation. It was never falling, or lonely darkness, or drowning that Sophie had been scared of. It was simply death.